Okay, so the sixth day, so once we get through this fifth night, it's a time of enlightenment period, gaining clarity in where we've been and where we're going. It's going to be through September 5th through September 22nd. Okay. Throughout history, it was creation of the first tools, first attempts at agriculture and shelter, and the Renaissance period. Again, remember, when we're coming out of something that might be a little bit more stressful, a little bit more difficult, we're coming into a positive and enlightened time. Okay.
Our children of the 60s?
Yes, our children of the 60s.
Oh, we got peace.
Yeah. So the sixth night. Now this is, creates understanding, our purpose, our destiny. This is the last night of the calendar. Okay. September 23rd to October 10th. Last period of dark. Conflicts and revolt throughout history. The Maya civilizations declined. Vietnam War. In 2012, the 8.8 earthquake in Chile, and we're going to see that again as well. Seventh day is, this is the very last section. Okay, we're coming to the end. And you know, if nothing else, we're living in a pretty amazing time. We're coming to the end of a 16.4 billion year calendar. And you know, you are absolutely right. Carl Kalman is a brilliant, brilliant man. I am nowhere near as smart as he is. I have done nowhere near as much research as he does. So I want to preface what I'm about to say with that. There's one thing that I don't 100% agree with Carl on. With everything that I understand about what the Maya say, what the Hopi say, what even our scientists are now saying about the big bounce, how we're talking about moving from this dimension into another dimension. I personally, and this is just me, I personally don't feel that this calendar ends. I think we're going to go on to start the calendar all over again. And for any of you that have seen the Vedic calendars, their cycles talk in the trillions of years. So this isn't out of the norm or something really a radical idea. You know, I think it's bigger than stopping. And like I say, everything I know about the Mayan, nothing stops. Everything is cycles. So this goes from October 11th to October 28th, 2011 is the last day of the 16.4 billion year calendar.
We have a party or what?
We should have a party. We should have a party. We should have a party. Time of readiness for something new and different. Time of ascension, going from one level to the next. In history, consciousness developed in Homo sapiens. We signed treaties, and the internet was established by creating planetary consciousness. So, major evolution of consciousness there. Now, I've been talking a lot about the Hopi and the Maya, and there's a lot of other things that are going on right now. And we've talked a bit about free will and how we can look at the positive in anything, right? And we can look at things as sign of changes. And I want to bring up something to you because, again, now that you've got this Mayan calendar and the fifth night and the seventh day and all this in your consciousness, if you haven't heard about it yet, you may hear about this. So I want to bring it up to give you a little different spin. We have a new neighbor. Has anyone not heard about comet Elenin? Okay. Comet Elenin was supposedly discovered by Dr. Leonid Elenin, supposedly discovered in December 10th of last year, and it ranges from everything, from the comet, a dwarf star, a Nibiru, or a spacecraft. Okay? If you notice, I said supposedly. Nobody knows what the heck is going on with this thing, and John can attest that I spend countless hours researching this. Countless hours. if you look this up, or if you start hearing people talk about it, it's even being called the Destroyer. Okay, there's a video on YouTube now about how the planet's going to split in half on September 11th. I mean, talk about spreading gloom and doom.
September 11th,
Well, September 11th happens to be the day that it's closest to the sun.
yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go through a few things that have happened. But I also want to educate you on this so that you can have a conversation with other folks, okay? I said supposedly Leonid Elenin because nobody knows if this guy really exists, okay? And I always try and go on the logical side of things, you know, and people are coming up with all kinds of conspiracy theories, and I roll my eyes at 90% of them. However, I will say that it's really, really interesting that this comet is coming out of Leo. And Leonard actually means comets coming out of the constellation Leo. So I think it's really interesting that this guy's first name just happens to mean what he discovered. Now, I'm not saying that he's not exist, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's very coincidental. The other thing is, I will say that they're saying that his last name is a code for extinction level event. I say hogwash. You know, I don't believe it for a second. But the other thing that is kind of interesting is that if you take that and swap it around, it does kind of look like 9/11, which is the day that's going to be closest to the sun. So, you know, discovered September 10th, 2010. That's not true. Everybody's harping on that, but that's not true. There's an article that I have on my website that I show on space.org, I think it is, where it was actually discovered earlier than that by Japanese. Now, I get it. I couldn't pronounce the original name they gave it, so I could see why they'd want to rename it so that we could all talk about it. But just so you know, that's not true either. Okay. It's not Nibiru. I'm going to stand up here. First of all, nobody knows what it is, but I can say it can't be Nibiru. Because if you've read Zachariah Sitchin's works, Nibiru is supposed to be bigger than Jupiter. If it is where it is right now, we'd be able to see it, okay? And we'd be able to see it with, possibly with our naked eye, but you know what, get binoculars, you'd be able to see it. And there's too many amateur astronomers around the world right now, we'd know about it. Spacecraft, I'm not buying it. But again, I want you guys to be able to have a conversation about it. February 27th, 2010, this was the 8.8 Chilean quake that I had mentioned earlier. This was an alignment. This I took off of the NASA's website. And if you guys want to know more about this, I have about 6 videos on YouTube about Elenin alone. This is when Elenin, Earth, and the Sun lined up. So this was the 8.8, and this is how, just so you know, the Earth distance was 6.04 AU. AU stands for astronomical unit. 1 astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Okay? So, and then of course you've got the date down there. September 4th, this was the 7.2 quake in Christchurch, New Zealand. And this was when we had the Earth, Mercury, the Sun, and Elenin all lined up. Okay? March 11th, that was the big Japan 9.0 quake. This is when we have the Sun, Earth, and Elenin lined up. Okay? Comets are supposed to be basically a ball of ice traveling through the universe, okay, with the ability to pick up a magnetic charge. And depending on how long their orbit is how magnetized they can get. It's like anything, you know, if you rub your feet, if you don't discharge for a long time, there's a bigger discharge. But again, nobody knows for sure, okay? I really want to stress that. Nobody knows for sure. This could all be a coincidence. But do you think that maybe we should know when the next alignments are coming? Just September 11th, it's the closest to the sun, at about half the distance of us to the sun. September 19th, it's equidistant between the sun and Earth. September 27th, so it's kind of, now I want, and part of the reason why I'm showing this as well is that we're still in this 9th wave, right? So there's still more things that are going on. September 27th is really the next alignment, okay? Mercury, Sun, Elenin, and Earth. We don't know. It's very possible nothing could happen, okay? October 17th is when it's closest to the Earth at 0.23 AU. If you start researching this, you're going to see all kinds of bloggers saying, it's going to hit the Earth. No one has said that, okay? And I highly recommend that you look at the source of anything that you read. And I've sourced back so much to bloggers that are purposely sharing fear. Okay? October 28th, we all know what that date is, right? Okay, so we've got some more dates after that. November 5th, we're entering the Elenin's path. Now what that means is every comet has a coma, which is the outer, it's just gaseous, that it builds as it gets closer to the sun, and it has a tail. This is when we're entering the tail. It's very possible that absolutely nothing will happen. November 8th, this is another asteroid that you're going to hear about. It comes within 200,000 miles of Earth, and it is going to be closer than the moon. You can go right on NASA's website, and they have the trajectory of it on there.
I mean, we should be able to see it.
We should be able to see it, yeah. No, and trying to think, on there it even shows like, there's different websites that show you. Like Elenin, when it comes in, it's in the southern hemisphere, so we can't even see it. You know, it's the New Zealanders, Australia, they're the ones that are going to see that. November 9th. This, I really wanted to make sure that you guys knew about it, because there's a lot of conspiracy going on around this. So we've got November 8th, this asteroid, and then we've got number 9, or on the 9th, the broadcast networks are relinquishing control to FEMA for a test. So all of our television stations are going to be relinquished to FEMA on this date. 11/11/11 is another alignment, and I think that is a pretty auspicious day. November 23rd, Sun, Earth, and Elenin. No. January 8th. This is the other comet that people are all up in arms about.